This is the Northern Super League presented by BMO. Welcome to Swangard Stadium in Burnaby, BC. Vancouver Rise FC are hosting the return leg of the second game of a 5-game series against AFC Toronto. The two teams drew 1-1 in their last matchup. My name is Ashley Docking. I'm joined by former youth international player Jessica Lisi, and it's both of these teams who really need a redemption arc, if you will, Jess. And we'll turn to Vancouver first because their wounds against Montreal self-inflicted.
I think it was a very poor performance from this Vancouver side. They really struggled to deal with Montreal's high pressure, as well as decision-making out of the back. You see here Weller finding Quinn, who doesn't check their shoulder. Beau does very well to be able to read that and go forward. But here's another example, again, building out of the back, not making the decision quick enough, not recognizing that that pressure is coming, and that really hurt them against Montreal. Thankfully, Montreal wasn't able to make that deficit even worse. But again, just giving up the ball too easily today, it has to be very important for them to be able to secure that and build out of the back, but create the variation that's needed in finding those long balls as well when they're on.
Happy to shine some light on Ariel Young of the Vancouver Rise, who is getting her first start here after playing 4 matches, and she's somebody that you're excited to see. She's young, but she has experience.
Yes, she does, and I think that she adds that more experienced presence back there next to Weller. We've been seeing a few different pairings back there. Potentially she is the answer to this issue of finding that variation that Coach Heiner Muller mentioned to us, Ashley, and wanting to see them build out of the back with it and dealing with that press and being more communicative to the players in front of her and just keeping that structure for them. So potentially the answer here, but I'm excited to see her bring her left foot into the mix and be able to send those long balls.
AFC Toronto, they have some questions that need to be answered, and perhaps it's Nikki Small who's the answer for them, because she is just a player that has stood out from the jump for AFC Toronto. Despite the result, Nikki Small is always getting her nose into something.
She is a player that gets things done, and I think that's the easiest way and the best way to describe her. You see, even last matchup with the performance not going their way, I don't think she got on the ball enough, and I think that that was one thing that hurt Toronto and will be key for them to be able to find her today to help create that attack, her ability to go 1v1 and show her craftiness, her ability to find the gaps and use her IQ to turn forward and create things, and also her work ethic on both sides of the ball. Just a complete player.
She's somebody who has started 7 matches. Every game that she's played, she started for AFC Toronto. She also has 3 goals so far on the season. This matchup between Vancouver and Toronto is a 4-5 matchup as we take a look at the table. Of course, it's still early in the season, but all the teams have now played 8 or 7 games, so things are kind of rounding into shape, if you will. Ottawa, I don't know if you want to call them a surprise, but they have a penchant for just putting a beating on a few teams. Toronto, their latest victim, they sit in first right now. Calgary, Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, of course, and then Halifax getting off to an okay start depending on the type of game that you're looking to play. They are fighting. They are fighting to get back into everything, but they have 1 point right now, 10 for Toronto. We are going to have the starting 11 coming up for you looking into this matchup. Changes abound for both sides. Welcome back to NSL, presented by BMO. We have Vancouver hosting Toronto here at Swangard Stadium on this Wednesday evening. Let's take a look at the starting 11, and we'll start with the home side. And there's a couple of changes here. Particularly, I want to point out that Quinn is available to play, but they are not in the starting lineup. So you're going to have a big role to fill in the center of the pitch. Emily Wong and Samantha Chang perhaps working together.
Sam Chang, I think, is going to be huge for them in having to step into that holding mid role in a sense and be able to start the dynamic of this game. We see them come out and not be able to set the tone a lot of times for Vancouver, so I think that she's going to be instrumental to that. I also think Mariah Lee is a player that has really stepped up recently. In the beginning of the season, she was struggling to find the back of the net, but we've seen her be able to do that for this Vancouver side recently, so I think that her having a big performance could be crucial to them getting the win tonight.
Mariah, thank you so much for joining us. Now, you were unable to find the back of the net through the first 5 matches, but now 2 goals in your last 3 games. What has changed to account for the success or finishing from your perspective?
I think just everyone finding a rhythm and getting more threatening chances in front of the goal. I mean, all I need is a couple inches of space, and I know I can put it in the back of the net, so just creating those more dangerous chances in the final third.
Yes, I love that confidence. Now, going back to your last match against Montreal, it wasn't the result that you guys were hoping for. So what goes into training this week in order to bounce back here against Toronto?
More tactical information rather than on the field because it's such a tight turnaround. But we changed some things up and we're ready to go. We have some different looks we're going to try this game, so it should be exciting, and we should hopefully get the result.
Well, I can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Toronto makes a trip across country to take on Vancouver, and Marko Milanovic and the coaching staff put the roster in a blender and hit frappe because they have 4 changes to the lineup. But he did want to be clear. Their performance and their result in their last match against Ottawa had no indication on this. It's because they have 3 games in 7 days. So despite the fact that it was an Ottawa win, has no indication that Kaylee Hunter, for example, is coming in as a running mate with Esther Okoronkwo once again.
I think Kaylee Hunter, when she came into that last matchup, despite the loss, she was a bright spot for them, and seeing her back in the mix, I think, will help this Toronto side in regards to their attack and finding that clinical edge that they've been missing a little bit. Regan is another player that I think needs to get on the ball today and really keep this team in check and help build in the attack and as well do her job defensively.
Emma, thank you so much for joining us. Your coach, Marko Milanovic, called the game versus Ottawa way out of character for you guys. So with that in mind, how do you address what happened, but then also wash it from your mind to move on to tonight?
Yeah, I think obviously things are going to go wrong in a season, and we had quite a few of them go wrong the other day, but I think it's just about the response now. We obviously can't go back and change that game. All we can do is focus on this one, so we're looking ahead.
So Vancouver, they're a team that's given up goals early in their last 4 matches. With that in mind, how aggressive do you guys want to be off the opening kickoff?
Very aggressive. I think we always want to be like that. We're at our best when we score early, and we're really pushing right in the first half. So we're going to be very aggressive, and I think people have a lot of energy. There's really a will and a desire to win this game, especially after last week. So I think, yeah, you can definitely expect to see us come out of the gate strong.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Thanks so much and good luck today.
Thank you.
One thing's for certain and 2 things for sure. Both of these teams, Jess, are adamant on redeeming themselves after their last performance. Mentions of the word brutal, mentions of the word out of character, not up to par from both coaches, both in Anja Heiner-Moller as well as Marko Milanovic, as we're underway here at Swangard Stadium. Again, this is the second matchup between the two, a 1-1 draw, the first time Toronto and Vancouver met, and they will play 5 games this season, as will every team facing each other. So we're going to get maybe some extended rivalries, maybe some bad blood, but right now, as the head coach for Vancouver talked about, Anja Heiner-Moller, is you cannot take a night off or your opponent will punish you.
And I think last time these two teams met, we saw it was that final minute that Jessica DiFilippo was able to get that goal off of her head and tie it up. Very frustrating tie for Toronto, because overall I would say that they were a lot more purposeful in their possession and they were creating a lot more dangerous opportunities. But that final finish has been lacking for them. Coach Milanovic made the joke to us that they can only score from outside of the box, and he just wants them to score an easy goal. So we're looking for some tap-ins today, Ashley.
It was one of those jokes that's not ha-ha funny, though. It's laugh so you don't cry type of energy, because why are they able to hit these screamers and bangers from 30 yards with ease, seemingly, but in close you can't be clinical. And quite frankly, that's been a trend across the Northern Super League the entire way. Vancouver making mention of the same thing. Do I have to defend up by the middle circle? Saying to the Vancouver coach, to us, Hanya Moeller, she's saying, how far out do I have to block shots? Because there's some exceptional goals, some highlight reel goals, and so everyone's just trying to adapt to see what the trends are here early on in this season. You have Toronto in their away kits, the white with the blue shorts, and then Vancouver, they're going to be in the dark kits. They're going left to right, both teams looking to assert themselves, but you know that AFC Toronto want to be a little bit more aggressive as Emma Regan decides to take the ball at her feet and change the pace of play. Soto, she's playing center back now for this group, and Toronto, again, the rotating group of defenders as they play with three in the back. It's been different for the last 4 matches in a row.
And I think that rightfully so.
Okoronkwo, she's going to get a first opportunity to touch in the box. You see Vancouver converge, but that's laid off to Regan, and what a start. Emma Regan blasts it from distance. She doesn't miss leg day, and she doesn't miss the target. 1-0 early for Toronto.
We spoke about wanting to see them come out sharp and on that front foot, and who else other than Emma Regan to step up and be the leader that she is. She's so capable of doing everything she needs to do to get the job done. Clearly getting on the board here for her team. Absolutely lethal goal by her.
And you see immediately Heiner Moeller up out of her chair on the bench as we get another look at this one-time strike right across the face of goal, top left corner. From the captain too, and what a way to make an impression. Hey, I'm your leader. I'm gonna do it probably verbally in the locker room, maybe in a group chat, but I'm also gonna prove it on the pitch.
Just to mention too, Ashley, we were just joking about them scoring banger after banger, and she goes ahead and does
distance.
that.
That was the top of the 18, but still, absolutely. They don't score goals inside the 18. The 18 is lava.
But yes, to your point, it's, you know, it's about setting that tone, and she does it vocally. You see her telling people and instructing people of where they need to be and keeping that tone up for her team. But what better way to do it than to actually just go out and put it in the back of the net yourself?
Regan now trying to maneuver her way through traffic. She's able to find some relief. Toronto look to push on the right side of the pitch, but it's broken up by Vancouver. And you know what? This is a very concerning trend for Vancouver at this point. The Rise, and I talked to you about this before the game, have really had a penchant for giving up early goals. Against Montreal, 1 at the 9th minute. Against Calgary, 16th minute. Halifax, 15. Ottawa, 11th. So now 5 games in a row where they've given up goals in under 20 minutes. And that is not something that's going to be sustainable or really a recipe for success in a league that's been so tight.
And I think, you know, I mentioned before when they have the ball and their ability to build out of the back was lacking in the last matchup, and that preciseness. But I also think one thing that they've been struggling with is to be able to make the decision of when to step and when to stay. There hasn't been that willingness to go into that tackle and cut off a shot like that. Emma Regan has too much time and space to be able to do that. You cannot give players even an inch in this league, and we've seen that with the amount of great goals that are being scored from distance. You sort of think, you're so far out, you're not going to cause much damage here, and they do. So I think that that's one thing that Vancouver has to improve on, and it's one thing that Coach Heiner Muller mentioned to us, wanting her team to be on the same page of when to step and when to hold, and just recognizing that.
Esther Okoronkwo, she's chased by Jasmine Spencer. Spencer able to use the Jets and catch up, and now Sophie Longhurst converges, and it's going to be the first corner kick of the game. Set pieces for Toronto, a focus. Marko Milanovic saying that before their last game, they actually trained a little longer than he would have liked to because they were having some trouble really nailing down the set piece execution. And then we saw the result against Ottawa. Not to say that the training was the result or the workload, but he said because of the result, the coaches looked at everything. Into the box, headed out, corner kick, we'll repeat it. But we see how pivotal the set pieces are. So understandably, they want to really, really lock it down early in the season. Get a look at Ariel Young there. She played her first pro season last year, and now she's here in the NSL. As we mentioned off the top, her first start for Vancouver Rise. Regan, big boot, back post. Contested, but falls by the wayside and finds the foot of Kayla Hansen.
It was a great delivery and we've seen Regan do it time and time again. She hits that with just the right amount of pace, finds that back post. Toronto's just not able to get there to be able to redirect it towards goal. But again, the delivery is there, and I just think that it's that willingness to put your head on it, to put your body in front of it, or just cause a bit of issues for the Vancouver back line.
Nikki Small looking for her right side running mate, Esther Okoronkwo. Instead, it's turned over. Who else but Ward? Backtrack from Vancouver leads to a turnover. And a good job by Vancouver to win these aerial balls, these 50-50 balls, exhibiting some toughness. And that run is offside by quite a large margin. And it'll be Sophia Manor who gets the start in this one once again. Sierra Cotillard was starting for the last 4 matches for Toronto. And once again, Marko Milanovic saying, hey, these changes have nothing to do with the results. Against Ottawa, 4-0. He had planned on trying to manage the load of his players, 3 games in 7 days. Crossed by Sam Chang. Bounces in the 18. And an opportunity to at least force the issue, and Tess Manor falls by the wayside. That ball goes wide. It'll be a corner kick. It looks like a deflection. Nadia Sawan was the one who got her foot on it. Oh, throw in, excuse me. Nope. Ashley, trust your instinct.
To be fair, it did look like she was about to throw that in.
Yeah. First set piece for Vancouver. Chang, strong. Finds her teammate, but not able to direct on the face of goal.
We spoke about Sam Chang earlier when we spoke about the starting 11 and the role that she plays. You see her get forward here to be able to find Sawan in the box. Sawan just not able to keep her body down and make contact with that ball as well as she would have liked to get it on frame. But I think Sam Chang's movement off the ball is something that makes her so great. And the last time these two teams met, that was one thing she did very well. She found those pockets of space and she exposed Toronto by making runs into those half spaces and taking it down the flank and putting service in the box. So although she is instrumental in helping them find their dynamic and their rhythm in the middle of the park, she is also so great at being the one getting forward. You see her here already on that back line looking to break the line.
A big ball over the top played by Vancouver. It's Josie Longhurst who tries to run onto it. Manor gets her body in the way and ushers it right out of bounds. And you know, a lot of different compilations on this back end for Toronto. It's a point that you made very well, Jess, is that, you know, in the last 4 matchups, it's been Cathro, Rollins, Hagee right, Rollins middle, Cathro left. They're going flipping back and forth. They're adding Croy Soto into the mix. Now, you know, Hansen is playing on the back as well, trying to sort through that right center back and left back situation.
I don't think anyone has necessarily earned the right to be in the lineup every single time in that back line for Toronto, and that's something that Coach Milanovic mentioned to us in previous calls as well. He doesn't think anyone's had a lights out performance to be able to earn that as of yet. So I think that, you know, as much as that brings out friendly competition and you're going to step up and win that role, I think someone really needs to dig deep here and be able to give Toronto what they need and be a player that is in that lineup consistently for them, because that in the back line is needed. It's not often you're seeing changes in the back line, but for this Toronto team, it seems that that's the one place that we've been seeing rotation time and time again.
Vancouver looking to put some pressure on that back line that we talked about. Mariah Lee trying to turn the corner. Well in by Ashley Cathro to not surrender the corner kick. Lee on a mission. And you know, we talked to Mariah Lee before the game, and I really like her confidence, saying, hey, I've been finishing at a higher rate than I had in the last 3 games, 2 goals in the last 3 matches for Lee, and I don't need a lot of time and space. You get the ball to my foot and watch me work.
One thing you do need as a striker is confidence. So you love to hear her say it. You know that she has that self-belief, and that's usually what translates onto the pitch. We've seen her create a lot for her team. We've seen her get on the board for them, and whether that's getting the ball into the box and great delivery at that, or using her IQ off the ball and finding those spaces and using her pace and just continuously causing issues driving end line. You saw just there being able to drive end line. Cathro did a good job at defending it out, but just showing her quality.
Speaking of, Lee, the one-time touch to the left side of the pitch, trying to send Holly Ward on a run, but it's offside once again. We're 1-0 here for AFC Toronto against Vancouver Rise. Emma Regan with an absolute screamer from the top of the 18, one-timer. Her 2nd goal of the season, giving the visiting team the early lead. A troubling trend that we've seen with Vancouver over their last 5 matches now, but this is where the resolve gets tested. Spencer pressured immediately. Has to give it up to Weller. Longhurst brings it down 1 touch. Turnover, Pickett. Nice teamwork, top of the 18, she slips. Kaylee Hunter had an opportunity, Nikki Small joins the fold, and now look at that speed on display from Vancouver. Advantage finally blown dead.
See Petruski not too happy about that delay in the call.
Yeah, she was wondering.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to hold my breath and I'm going to wait. You always want to play on the advantage, but Petruski drawing the foul, using her speed to cause some problems.
And we've been seeing her in that fullback role, but normally later in the matchups. And today we're seeing her get that start as Sawan comes into that central role and Lee pushes out wide. But Petruski is a player that has been very consistent for this Vancouver team. That was something that Coach Heiner Muller mentioned. She was one of the few players that she feels has really stepped up and shown that consistency. And I think that she's a player that is quite well-rounded. We've seen her and her ability to go 1v1 and her pace, but also her decision-making when she's on the ball, getting the crosses in and finding people, not just mindlessly sending it anywhere. A very well-rounded player.
Esther Okoronkwo, she's going to go and re-engage this battle with Jasmine Spencer. She's able to beat one man, but a second comes.
Here's a bit of skill from Kaylee Hunter. We see every time she comes into the game or anytime she gets minutes, she is somebody that is going to show off her ability and her skill, the craftiness that she has. That's just a great display of and one great example of what she is capable of.
Well, and it was just the connection and chemistry between Hunter and Ashuri as well. One touch, boom, boom, ping-ponging the ball back and forth in close quarters around the defense. And if I'm Vancouver, I'm, holding my breath in those moments, making sure that we're having a conversation about people who are running in late, like Esther, who makes a run right now. The ball gets put to the left of the 18. Using her speed, she'll go 1v1 versus Weller. Barnett, cross. Top of the 6. Spencer whiffs on it, but reinforcements are there to clear the ball.
In that situation, I would have loved to see Kaylee Hunter actually go herself and take it into the middle of the park and get a shot off. We just talked about the quality that she has. She tries to play Okoronkwo, but the timing of Okoronkwo's run and the bit of the pace that's behind Hunter's pass just doesn't come off. They are able to get across.
Cathro trying to get in on the action. That's the second or third time we've seen that hold at the top of the 18, someone running through, trying to get a ball. They're really searching for that goal inside the 18 is really what I'm gathering from what we've seen so far. Ward knocks that off small. Vancouver regain possession. Lee turns, one touch. Collision, play on. Longhurst. A little bit of a miscommunication. That ball has a little too much weight on it, and Manor able to get there. And now she'll gingerly survey and see where she wants to go with it.
One thing Milanovic also mentioned to us was he felt it was key that for his team to find success, they have to deal with the defensive transition better than they have been in those moments. And we're seeing them have that front-footed mentality here today already in this first 17 minutes, I would say. But just that's an example of them breaking up that play and putting their body on the line. I believe it was Cathro who went into that, put her body right through the ball. They did continue to get the ball, but they weren't able to build anything that was dangerous. And I think that if they continue to win the ball higher up the pitch and not allow that defensive transition moment to happen, they won't get caught as much.
Hunter. She had Small down the right flank. Instead, Ward turns it over, and now she'll take the space that's in front of her. And that transition defense that you just pointed out, Jess, a good job by Croy Soto to get in the way and at least use her body when that ball ran to Manor. Pickett surveys, so dangerous when she has time and space. She finds Nikki Small, who's a little too short in stature to handle that second bounce, and it'll be Vancouver throw-in. Lee gets taken down, no call. Esther has the ball on her foot now, and she'll take a big shot from deep outside the 18, and the audacity once again. But you know what? When she is on, and she has had some amazing looks, some amazing goals this season, what are you going to do?
It's an audacious attempt for sure. I think that, again, we spoke about the confidence of a striker, and you want them to look up and try it, but I've been this person a few times this season. I think you have to choose your moments. I don't think it was on in that regard. She didn't have very many options, but she could have held that ball up, waited for someone to get around her. Barnett get around her on the left flank and play out there, but too many numbers in front of her to strike that from that distance.
Mounting the attack, Toronto once again. Weller heads it out of trouble. Flags up on the far side. It's going to be offside call. I really appreciated Marko Milanovic just bluntly talking about their last match. I mean, there's not too much you can say with the 4-0 result, but pointing out that it's very out of character for his side, and one of the tenets that they try and preach is we don't want to overreact to anything. Whether we win big, whether it's an upset, whether we lose big, whether it's a disappointment, we want to take it game by game, moment by moment, and just do a post-mortem. See how we can grow.
and you know, with any sport, that's going to be the case, right? You're always going to have a performance that you look back at and you're like, wow, I cannot believe that was us. That
Can we delete that tape?
Yeah, seriously, I'm sure
somebody?
they would love to delete that tape. Obviously, it was a great win for Ottawa, but it was just, he called it an outlier for his side, and I think that's pretty accurate with the performances we've seen from Toronto so far.
Barnett shakes Spencer. Cross doesn't find any white jerseys. Now Small will go to work. Converged on by Vancouver.
It's a good defensive effort by Ward to be able to recover there and not give Small time and space. We know that she is a player that doesn't need much of either to create something dangerous.
Pickett picks it off and back the other way with pace. Hunter making a run. The ball sticks to the foot of Pickett just a little too long, and you see that offside flag go way up. The two of them having a little confab about what they're going to do next.
This is a great look by Pickett. I think in this situation, Hunter needs to be able to pull closer to the sideline in that sense, not legitimately move over to the sideline, but just create a little bit more space for herself to run back into that space that Pickett's playing the ball. The timing of it is everything, and Kaylee Hunter is somebody that in the last matchup against Vancouver, her blindside runs and her breaking that line were very dangerous. She caused a lot of issues for the back line with her pace and with her willingness to get forward. So we know she's somebody that's capable. Just a bit of a mishap there. I think she thought she was going to get the ball a little earlier than Pickett released it, but just next time has to recognize that she needs to buy herself some time and create more space for herself to run back into the space that she just created.
Hunter, 9 appearances at the youth national level, and she is the one person that Anya Heiner-Moller mentioned by name that they need to watch out for, saying, hey, she is somebody who gets behind the defense. She will give you fits. And you can tell that she's on her horse today. You're watching Northern Super League presented by BMO. Thank you so much for joining us. Vancouver hosting Toronto, the second match of 5 for these two teams this season. My name is Ashley Docking. I'm joined by former youth international Jess Lisi, and we're so glad to have you here. If you're just joining us, it was Toronto captain Emma Regan who started us off early in this match. A strike from the top of the 18, giving Toronto a 1-0 lead. Since then, both teams have been hunting for opportunities. I'd say, Jess, Toronto maybe the more dangerous side, but Vancouver doing a good job, a good enough job, holding the middle, if you will, because Quinn is not available at this moment. They are available to be featured but are not starting, and that's a big loss for a Vancouver side who relies on them so much.
I think although we've seen Toronto on the ball a bit more.
Hunter gets through the back. Weller is there but offside once again.
I think although we've seen Toronto, on the ball a bit more and creating some more dangerous chances, they haven't really had anything too lethal in the box. I think outside of Emma's strike from distance, there hasn't been an opportunity that, I'm on the edge of my seat thinking this is going to go in the back of the net. So I still think that it needs to be picked up there from both sides. I think Vancouver has created some transitional moments, and they've done well to get it out of their half and find someone up top. But again, that final pass is not coming off. There hasn't been any dangerous crosses, and the clinical edge on both sides is still missing, I would say. Again, great goal by Emma Regan, but we need to see more goals happening inside the 18 from both of these teams.
To your point about those crosses, it's been, Shannon Weller, who's an iron woman for this Vancouver Rise side, playing every minute, and Ariel Young using her 5'11" frame to get to any aerial attack first. But here's another opportunity once again for Toronto.
Did you do that on purpose? Ariel Young and aerial play?
If I say yes, will you believe me?
Nope.
Not anymore. Regan and Soto setting up. Soto's the one who takes it, a big boot. She got her whole body behind that one. That one sails out of bounds. No real threat, but once again, even knowing your teammate has that in her bag can make a non-threatening situation, as you put it, lethal in the right hands.
If it had been a little further back, that would have been a great ball in.
If it was a goal kick. Morgan McCaslin, she's in net. She's in goal for Vancouver. has played all of their matches and boasts a 1.38 goals against average, but has outlier games where she's allowed 3 goals twice this season, 2 in their last match against Montreal. But as some teams kind of go back and forth, whether it's load management, whether it's opportunity, she's been a stalwart for Vancouver. Esther Okoronkwo, she'll go straight to the end line, trying to plead her case for that corner kick, but it will be a goal kick, and it'll be on the foot of Morgan McCaslin.
Okoronkwo is looking quite active off the front, and I think that that's a great sign. We've seen in the beginning of the season, although she's able to hit the back of the net, there's been moments where she wasn't as engaged off the ball, and we've seen her be very engaged. I would say recently it was probably a 1-game, 2-game thing, but when she is engaged off the ball, she is absolutely dangerous. If you can find the ball to her feet, give her even an inch of space, she's striking from distance, or she's playing great balls through like this.
Trying to spring small. A nice job by Young to get there and impede Small's advancement. Small goes 1v1 versus Ward, trying to get the cross cut back before it rolls out of bounds, but goal kick once again. And Nikayla Small, I mean, what can you say about her performance so far this season? We were talking to Marko Milanovic this week, and, you know, he was saying it's not my decision to make, and you guys have talked about this before on the broadcast with you and Signa. I've heard, you know, he really feels like she deserves a shot with the national team, a call-up, a look, a consideration in some capacity. When things have been going bad for this Toronto team, she's been a bright light through it all. Not that they're in dire straits and out of the playoffs or anything, but in those matches, the outlier matches, if you will.
I think that she has been a consistent force for them, and that's what makes her such an exciting player to watch, because it's not about having one good game. It's about being able to do it on a consistent basis, and she does it on both sides of the ball. You know, everyone's going to have a mishap here and there. You make a bad pass, but she is somebody, if she's making that poor pass, she is recovering and she is not going down without a fight. And that mentality is not something that is very common, I would say. A lot of times people drop their head and get some, you know, get frustrated, excuse me. Another look at that, her going into that tackle and getting absolutely taken out by Sawan. She's still down here, so hopefully she is able to get back to her feet.
Got some cleats on her ankle, hit the deck pretty hard. Looks like both teams will head to their respective sidelines to get some hydration and take a look at some tactical information. And as you just saw, Sawan booked for a yellow on the play. This hydration break is brought to you by Powerade. We are in the middle of summer, it feels like some days, and then it's rainy and cold other days, but making sure that everybody is able to play at their optimal and peak performance. You see this Toronto team trying to figure out how to continue this pressure. They want to play aggressive. They want to be in your face. They want to be pesky. And then for Vancouver, it's that build out of the back, right, that they want to make their identity.
Absolutely. I think that, too, you know, we've seen both of these teams be in the situation before. Last time they met, Toronto had that lead, and Vancouver fought to that final minute to be able to tie it up. We also saw Vancouver
90+4.
Yeah, and we also saw Vancouver come back from being down against the Tides and be able to win that in a 2-1 game. So we know that they are capable of having that resilience, and here's just another look at this great goal by Regan. Okoronkwo gets on that ball, and she looks back to find Regan, who's wide open, and hits that one-time top corner. Such a lethal force coming off of her foot. Her awareness to be able to strike that from that distance, knowing that she has so much time and space. She could have even taken a touch for how much time she had. And again, that is to the point of Vancouver needs to be better defensively and not allowing that at the top of the 18 or within the 18. Taking care of their box has to be better.
Away we go. The hydration break, the Powerade hydration break is over, and now AFC Toronto looking to add some pressure to this Vancouver defense, double their lead perhaps, hit the 30-minute mark in the first half here at Swangard Stadium. You see the idea mounting. AFC Toronto really trying to pick on this right side, trying to go down the right flank. Makes sense with Small in the mix over there. Esther's been floating back and forth, and now look at this speed. She holds up, trying to go 1v1. Small there in relief. Back to Esther Okoronkwo. Pickett calling for it at the top of the 18. Esther's solo mission finally turned over. And it's Ward who will turn on the Jets. Emma Regan trying to battle. Pickett gets back as well, and there's that effort to not get caught in reverse transition. Finally, Toronto able to settle it down, and it's Pickett to go back to Manor. Miss hit by Soto. Longhurst is there to take it down, and now Lee. Longhurst happy to watch it roll out of bounds, much to the chagrin of Barnett, and Spencer plays it inside to Lee. They're trying to move quickly, Vancouver.
This battle between Cathro and Lee has been fun every time they go into it. You're seeing neither of them want to back down. I would say Cathro has been winning it a little bit because Lee hasn't been able to get any dangerous opportunities off, and we know that she is someone that has that ability to win those 1v1 battles. Here's another look at Holly Ward doing what she does best, driving forward, using her pace, but Emma Regan is not going to go down without a fight. Pickett also recovering and breaking up that transitional play. We mentioned Milanovic wanted that from his team, and it's just a matter of keeping that consistency and setting that tone for the entirety of the match now.
Errant pass, Colby Barnett unable to get on the end of it.
We've also been seeing Jasmine Spencer a lot more mindful of when to get up and when to hold. The last time these two teams met, she was burned quite a few times by cheating for getting forward. And she learned her lesson for sure. She's such a talented defender, but she's also very lethal in the attack when she goes forward. So her recognizing and picking her moments is crucial to this backline finding success for Vancouver and shutting down a dangerous attack, an aggressive attack that Toronto has.
Tense moments as that ball going back to Manor. You see Vancouver slowly inching up and looking to apply a little bit more pressure to that back line of Toronto. Soto steps up. Pickett. Hunter trying to be cheeky. That's broken up by Vancouver, and now Lee. That's a foul. Grabbing Small by the waist, bringing her down to the ground.
There's no denying that one.
She knew. She just walked away. I'm not going to complain. Sometimes you just get caught and you just keep it pushing.
And this is not in a dangerous spot, right? You want to break up the play when a player like Small gets it and is running forward and potentially catching you in transition. So it is a smart foul by Lee to be able to foul her in her own half and not allow her to create anything dangerous out of that.
Barnett able to bring it down. A little bit of crafty play as she is brought down to the field. You see her frustration with no foul call, but Toronto remain in possession, so play on. Okoronkwo comes in. A little bit of physicality, and it's going to be Chang who draws the foul. Spencer, as you mentioned, the attacker stuck in the defender's body. Trying to balance her yin and yang.
I think her competitive mindset is what makes her so dangerous as a fullback and allowing her to get forward but defensively, she is not going down without a fight. You're not just going to run by her.
Ward tracks all the way back, breaking up that ball left for Esther Okoronkwo. And to finish off your point, it's the pride.
Yeah.
All great defenders have that pride. I'm going to take it personally. You're not going to beat me.
Here's a look at what Victoria Pickett does
what
best.
else? Yeah, what else is new? Victoria Pickett dominating the midfield.
She has so much pace to her, but her decision making to draw players in and then feed that ball through is what makes her so dangerous. And a lot of times she's running at you with such pace that you have no opportunity other than to foul her, because that's the only way you're stopping her. But she's able to win a corner kick here.
Okoronkwo tries to get her head on it, remains in possession. Hansen drops it to Soto. Pickett to Regan. She'll switch the field of play completely. And a chip over. Regan able to get there, and now she'll have some time to survey. Defended by Petruski. They get it out of the corner. And it's this confidence and this self-assuredness that we're seeing AFC Toronto play with in these moments, as Cathro will survey and she'll pop that one over the top. Dangerous moments, as it was Young who was in the correct position but slipped, and Small could have been 1v1.
One thing Toronto also does very well when they're on their game is their rotation up front and the interchange that they have. You see different players getting on that back line. They always have numbers there. That's something you have to be aware of when you're playing against them, and being able to stick with your mark is very difficult in that situation. Obviously, most teams are playing zonal and you're passing that off, but you have players who sit in those pockets like a Small, or you see a Shuri getting forward, you see Hunter making different types of runs, and Okoronkwo coming off the front, and Barnett. There's so many players that are involved in their attack, and that makes them so dangerous to deal with.
Speaking of danger, Esther Okoronkwo, one time Spencer gets her foot on it, corner kick for Toronto. You know, talking to Milanovic, talking about his strikers or his team's ability to get shots on goal but not finish at a rate that they would be happy with. You know, he said, and you've mentioned this before too, Jess, attackers can be streaky. When you're hot and you're feeling it, unstoppable. And then sometimes when you hit a bit of a rut, you got to really work to get yourself out of it. And could this be the inside the 18-yard box goal that Toronto was looking for? Regan, cross, punched out by McCaslin. Vancouver does a great job of clearing that. No second chance opportunity, but who else? Small. Regan. Barnett, she'll take Spencer 1v1, tries a cut back. Well done by Spencer. A block shot outside the 18 by Vancouver by Holly Ward. And she just wants the ball, and she wants to get going. Time ticking away here in the first half. We approach the 40-minute mark. AFC Toronto up 1-0 against Vancouver Rise. This last match, I would say eerily similar. Toronto was up 1-0. Vancouver came back late, but the way that Toronto came out of the gate and popped one in early off the foot of Emma Regan, a little bit of a different script. Vancouver laying in wait, looking to see where and when Toronto want to go before they spring the pressure, but direct over the top to Hunter.
I think one thing too that this back line for Toronto needs to keep in mind, that although you are up and although Vancouver is sitting in that block and they're not applying that high pressure to them, they have so much time and space, you need to continue to move the ball. You make the ball do the work to attempt to pull them out of their structure, but if you stop the ball like we were seeing Soto do, it doesn't cause any problems. It's not a threat, and of course, again, you're up 1 goal, you might not feel the need to rush, but 1 goal is not that comfortable enough of a lead to just chill in the back. So I think it's a matter of keeping that, for lack of a better term, I think it's a matter of keeping that pace in your passes.
Lee will want that one back. She had runners in the box and played it a little bit too direct to goal. Men are able to capture it, no issue. Pickett small, turns on the 1 touch. Distributes it all the way to the right flank, shows up for support. Hunter, defended by Young. Well in by Ariel Young. It's her first start of the season, and she has been good. She's faced a lot of pressure down on that right side, her left, and they really have not been able to take advantage of her as of yet.
No, and that's why when we spoke about her earlier, I think that she is a player to watch for them and potentially being that difference maker in the back line. She is a player that has pace, but she's also very good on 1v1 battles. As you see there, she shuts down small by picking her moment to step in.
Pickett and Small go give and go. Hunter leaves it for Pickett. Back to Hunter. She cracks it. And that is the first goal in a while from inside the 18 for Toronto. And it's off the foot of Kaylee Hunter. Doubles the lead for AFC Toronto.
I think that was a bit of a broadcaster's curse. I just complimented Ariel Young's ability to step in and time that. And there she stepped in too early and sort of jumped the gun, allowing Toronto to be able to get on that and create a goal.
You see Toronto elated celebration. You saw the 3 players before going night-night, put it to bed. And that's the exact finishing that Marko Milanovic was talking about for his team. In close quarters, being self-assured, and Hunter, as you can see, makes no mistake.
And Victoria Pickett starting that off and her playing that initial ball, getting it back, and then playing a bit of a combination with Hunter there, who is able to slot that home like the pro that she is. I know that she's a new pro and she is very young, but she has not been someone that has missed a step, I would say, when she is on the pitch. And when she started for this team, she's brought the energy, she's showcased her skill, she's come out very confident. So it's just fitting to see her get that second goal.
Second goal of the match, second goal of the NSL season for Kaylee Hunter. In what is her 4th start of the season here today. But she's not done yet, perhaps. Cuts it back. No foul called. Lisa Paczerski, she'll remain in possession and try and get upfield. But it's turned over. Toronto mounting this pressure. Hunter in the 18. It falls to Barnett. She'll take a left-footed swing, and that goes wide of the net.
You see what Kaylee Hunter can do when she floats into those pockets and finds the spaces in between center backs and full backs and going out into the flank. She gets that ball across. Barnett gets a shot off. She's not able to get that on frame, but she does make good contact with it. She times her run to be able to get there and create something off of it. Does need to be a little more clinical from her. You're inside the 18. You're close to goal. You know that she's a player that has so much quality. We've seen her strike with that left foot time and time again, and her strike is ruthless. So it is an exciting time for this team specifically, because we're seeing that variety sort of come off here and really come together.
(2-0) Toronto up on Vancouver as we make our way to the end of the first half, barring any extra time. Hearing there'll be 3 minutes of added time at Swangard Stadium in Burnaby, BC. 3 minutes of added time here in Burnaby, BC. Vancouver, the home side, reeling, and Toronto not letting up into the 18. Big shot, crossbar. McCaslin had to spread out, jump as high as she could, and still that was a chance for Toronto. Loose in the 6. And Kaylee Hunter is like a shark. She smells blood in the water.
You're also seeing that resilience from them right now when they aren't getting that first shot off. They're winning that second ball, getting another ball across. You saw Shuri coming down and hitting an absolute rocket off the crossbar. Okoronkwo repossessing that, getting another ball across to Kaylee Hunter, who's just not able to get there in time. But dangerous opportunities are being created more and more later as this half continues on.
Hunter called for a foul as she tried to steal the ball back when Vancouver was transitioning out. Selma Flores DeRoche, our lead official here tonight, our referee, giving her just a verbal warning. It's been a pretty clean game so far. We do have one yellow card for Swan, but nothing too untoward as Esther Okoronkwo chased down by Lee. Spencer there to corral her if needed, and that's, I'm surprised, is a play on situation. While Vancouver did remain in possession, grabbing someone's jersey and trying to whip them to the side. Offside here called. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
It was a very blatant shirt pull. And
well, and I was just going to say, if you want to be doing
yeah.
that, you want to be a little bit sneakier. You want to keep your arm closer to your body. I've heard.
Yep, of course you've heard. You've never done that.
No.
Good, don't
I'm
out
sure
yourself.
you neither.
No, me never.
Us? Never. Never. A lot of recalibrating to do if you're Vancouver here as we edge towards the last few seconds of stoppage time in the first half. Weller plays it over to Young. Toronto congregating in the central midfield, just making sure that there's not going to be an opportunity for them, for Vancouver, and now they're still pressing. Time winding down in this first half. Esther gets to the ball first. And that's all she wrote for the first half here. A fantastic bounce back performance for Toronto, led by Emma Regan, putting them up 1-0 early in this match. It was doubled by the 17-year-old Kaylee Hunter, and Vancouver trying to figure out a solution.
It was a very dominant first half, I would say, by Toronto. The only opportunities we really saw Vancouver create were off of transitional moments, and even those weren't getting too far up the pitch to create anything dangerous. I think that we saw Toronto start off strong with Regan getting on the board, and they continued to hold that pace and that tone to control the dynamic of this first half in their favor.
We have the BMO halftime show coming up on the other side of this break. 2-0 AFC Toronto up on Vancouver Rise FC.
I'm number 3 because there's 3 kids in my family, and when we used to go on family vacation, my parents would always be like, kid count 1, 2, 3 to make sure none of us were lost, and I'm 3rd born. I don't really listen to hype music because I'm already hyped, so I do like chill vibes. Right now, Miles Smith has been on repeat. Stargazing is great. My Home, yeah, that kind of vibe. Maybe a veterinarian. I love animals, so yeah. Definitely Thierry Henry. And then I also loved Brianna Scurry from the 99ers. I don't know very many like superstitions, but I always eat pancakes for my pregame meal, so kind of counts. Japan is at the top of the list. Patagonia. I have a couple. Galapagos Islands. I can't pick. Believe in yourself. Yeah. Cut.
Okay, so there are 2 raspberries, right? And one of them's crying. So the other one says, "Hey, why are you crying?" He says, "My parents are in a jam."
My dad joke is, why was 6 afraid of 7?
7, 8, 9.
Because 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
See?
Come on.
You knew it.
What's Pirate's favorite letter? You think it's R, but it's the C.
Okay, we have one, okay? I'm hungry. Hi, I'm Dad.
What does a DJ name its son?
Eric?
What's a bear? What do you call a bear that has no shoes? Barefoot.
What's a frog's favorite shoe? Closed-toed sandals.
It's a Northern Super League halftime report brought to you by BMO. Look at all these fans showing up to support Vancouver Rise FC at Swangard Stadium, but this Vancouver team needs to get to work because it has been AFC Toronto from start to finish, starting with Emma Regan, who really lit it up early on for the visiting side.
We spoke about Emma Regan before the match and what she can do for this team in possession, but she's also so capable of getting this ball in the back of the net. As we see here, she strikes this with such precision and power, placing that into that top right corner. Okoronkwo does well to find her and lay that ball off perfectly. So much time and space, too much time and space, I might add, from Vancouver's standpoint. But Emma Regan makes no mistake to point out just why she is where she is.
Absolutely. She had time to maybe touch that, to maybe make it a little bit more advantageous for her, but she said, I don't need it. And Kaylee Hunter did a good enough job in the space that she had as well to double the lead for AFC Toronto.
And this is a great team goal. You see the combination here. Pickett finds Small, who's able to lay that back off, and Pickett does another great little toe tap there to Hunter, and Hunter places that into that corner, making no mistake and showing us what Toronto has been wanting from their attack, to be able to finish within that 18-yard box.
Kaylee Hunter, an absolute hype beast. You see her get up, 17 years old after scoring that goal, back in the starting lineup. And it's Vancouver who have tried in vain to make runs offensively. Holly Ward, somebody who's leading the charge in this regard, but unable to make the connection in the final third, quite frankly.
I think that the only moments we've really seen them create something was off of these transitional moments. You see her here doing well to use her pace, but Emma Regan is not letting this go. Victoria Pickett recovering, and Toronto's able to regain it. Not anything dangerous coming out of that. And then another look here at this opportunity, a bit of combination play between Sawan and Wong. She plays that out to Lee, who passes this in to nobody, and I think she was waiting for someone to make that run, but it's just not working for them in the final third right now. That final pass is missing. The clinical edge is just not there.
If we take a look at the stats after the first 45 minutes, shots on target for Toronto is 2. They have 2 goals, 3 total shots. They also hit a crossbar. They've won the possession battle. They've gotten more corner kicks. So to your point, Jess, your assessment is bang on. Everything has gone Toronto's way, and it's Vancouver who's going to need to have a redemption moment. They needed to come into this game after a performance they were not excited about against Montreal, and it has been a bit of a letdown. They do have some players that are available to come in and maybe mix things up a little bit, so we'll see what Anya Heiner-Moeller decides to do in this second half. But in the meantime, let's send it over to our teammates Kate McKenna, Amy Walsh. They have a post-game report. Halifax notching their first win against Ottawa, the team who embarrassed AFC in their last matchup. This league is crazy.
Kate McKenna and Amy Walsh with you in the aftermath of a massive win for the Halifax Tides, their first of the season, 2-1 over the Ottawa Rapid. And this really was, Amy, a tale of two halves. First half a bit lackluster from Halifax, and they turned it on in the second half. Their best half of play so far this season. What did you like about what you saw?
Well, you talked about it being a tale of two halves. In the first half, they're the home team. They're the team that's desperate for the 3 points. They came out of the gates. They were sluggish. And it was really Ottawa dictating terms to them. But they went into that locker room. Ottawa was the team that made 2 changes. Lewis Page kept his team exactly the same. And it was like a reinvigorated, renewed team in terms of their spirit, their mentality, their approach, but also the quality of play. So we saw glimmers of attacking the box, glimmers of combination play, pulling the best out of Kennedy Miller on the flanks, Nakamura operating underneath Clegg, but nothing ever really came to fruition. But they started to threaten, and they started to threaten with purpose and consistent threat, and they put Dajna under duress, and it paid off because they were able to cash in with 2 goals.
Well, speaking of goals, you talk about the quality of play, the quality of finish from Gunny Junsdotter in this game-winning goal, a volley off the post. What did you like about this?
What was not to like about it, Kate?
It's true.
Like,
it's
I mean,
true.
all of the fans at Wanderers grounds, everybody rooting these Tides on to finally get 3 points. This is a phenomenal ball by Sid Kennedy. Olay on a back post. It goes to Clegg, and it kind of bounces out to Gunny Junsdotter. Has to do a lot of footwork to even get to it, and then wraps her laces around it, puts it through, off the post and in. So it was an emphatic way to kind of put an exclamation point on their first 3 points for this franchise. And I think it was really highly emblematic that it was a player like Gunny Junsdotter who was able to get that goal for her team today.
Well, let's hear from Gunny Junsdotter. She spoke with Brianne Foley.
Gunny, you got that monkey off your back, first win here at home. How does that feel for you to solidify that tonight?
So good. I think it's a weight off our shoulders, and to do it in front of the fans who showed up here in the rain. I'm so happy, and we did it for them today.
I mean, you guys have put together a complete 45 minutes. That second half was incredible. That's the Tides that you have been putting out there. What was so different about playing tonight's game?
I think just it went our way. We've been progressing in the games, but that just hadn't gone our way. We've kind of been unlucky, and so I think it just, today went our way, and we deserved it, and I think the girls here deserved it. They worked so hard, and some of them playing their first professional, season, and this is well deserved for them.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, if we're going to talk about this victory, we have to talk about Sid Kennedy. She almost willed this team to win, didn't she?
She was a woman possessed.
Yes.
So by hook or by crook, this Tides team was going to do it. And if it wasn't through Nakamura who got the opening goal or Junsdotter who got the winner, then it was by the play by, Miller we're seeing on the ball here, by Sid Kennedy, where it got on the end of some balls, and she was a thorn in Adamek's side the entire match. She was almost belligerent. She was petulant. She was undeterred. She wasn't going to shy away from any challenge, but every single thing that she did on the pitch tonight was with purpose, and this is a performance that she is going to want to replicate.
Well, let's look at the stats at full time. As we've said, it really was a tale of two halves. Halifax relentless with their shots on net, just like that one in that second half. And Amy, they earned a fair number of corners too.
They did, and I think that was a testament to the way that they performed in the second half, where it was professional, but it was also mature. And they were effective in the way that they were attacking. They were causing Ottawa problems. So if they weren't getting a shot on frame, they were putting Dajna under pressure, and they were winning the corner kicks, and that proved to be the difference maker.
Well, no doubt a ton of elation at the Wanderers' grounds. Look at Erin McLeod there, absolutely thrilled, as she should be. And listen, maybe a bit of relief too. No better way for the Tides to head into an 11-day stretch with no game action.
Let's take a look at the upcoming NSL matches. You have Ottawa Rapid FC taking on the Montreal Roses. That's on Saturday, June 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Calgary is going to take on Toronto. Toronto, of course, in the middle of a stretch of 3 games in 7 days. And then Ottawa, once again, the following Saturday, June 21st, taking on Calgary. That is also going to be a matinee, 2 p.m. on TSN. That Toronto game's on CBC Gem. And we hope that you tune in for all of the action. Now, the second half of this matchup is going to be coming up on the other side of the break. It's Toronto taking on Vancouver. They are on the road, and they are up 2-0. Vancouver has some work to do.
It's the goal they've been waiting for.
That is a highlight we will see over and over and over again. That is absolutely world class. Oh my goodness.
Northern Super League presented by BMO. We are back at Swangard Stadium in Burnaby, BC. Vancouver Rise FC coming out in the second half, looking to cut this lead that Toronto have managed. 2-0 so far in this match. Goals from Emma Regan, another goal from Kaylee Hunter, and it's just been Toronto from top to bottom from the beginning. They have had this redemption mentality. They did not want to have another dud of a performance, and they have absolutely answered the call.
They have, and I think that, it helps to be able to get on the board early on. It sets the tone, and it's also a bit demoralizing from, Vancouver's standpoint. When you are scored on so early, you have to be able to bring that fight from minute 1. They didn't really have much time to build into it when Regan struck that on frame. So I think that in this second half, they have to come out with more of a forward mentality, that front-footed mentality, get their fullbacks more involved. We're seeing them hang a bit back. I know I mentioned Spencer the last time these two teams met. She got caught cheating a few times, but having her involved and create those overloads against a back 3 is going to be very helpful for this Vancouver team. So I would love to see that from them. They haven't been utilizing their midfield very much either. It just seems that those transitional moments are what they're trying to capitalize on.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is NSL on TSN Plus, presented by BMO. Vancouver, the home side in the dark kits, if you're just joining us. Toronto on the road. They have a Vancouver, Calgary, West Coast trip. They're in the white kits with the blue shorts. My name is Ashley Docking. I'm joined by former youth national player Jessica Lisi. We're so glad that you could join us today. And, you know, Vancouver's down too, but you got to be in a bit of a rut before you can mount an amazing comeback and excite the fans at Swongar Stadium. So it's not an ideal situation for a Vancouver team who had a 2-0 result against Montreal in their last matchup. But we saw what they did against Halifax. They do have the capability to rally, as we take a look at Colby Barnett just trying to shake off a little bit of a knock. But Vancouver has demonstrated the ability to make a comeback, and so you can't count them out, because what's the most dangerous lead in sports, Jessica Lisi?
2-0. I was going to say this. Well, a 2-goal lead, I would say, in general. But, you know, it's funny you point that out, because I was going to bring that up. I sound like a broken record anytime there's a 2-goal lead in this league, but it's something that a lot of teams struggle with. You become very comfortable and think, you know, you're on top of the world, they're not going to catch us now, but it's one goal and you're back in the game, the momentum shifts, and that's where you find yourself in hot water sometimes. So Toronto has to be able to keep the consistency throughout this match, continue to find players like Regan and Small, get them on the ball, control the rhythm of this game and keep it in their favor, continue to move the ball when they have it in possession, not stop the ball in the back line and look up, because we're seeing Vancouver sit a bit further back. I also think it could help Vancouver to apply higher pressure at times and put that back three under some heat, because we've seen Toronto's back line struggle with that in the past as well.
2 substitutions for the Rise at the half. Ariel Young's night is complete, as is Nedia Sawan. Jalen Wright coming in, Jessica Cowart also joining the fold. Trying to mix it up a little bit here is Vancouver. Misplayed by Esther Okoronkwo, and it falls to the foot of Spencer. McCaslin will be lightly pressured by Esther Okoronkwo. Feel like she wasn't giving it the full gas nonetheless. Vancouver is still struggling to get it out of their final third right now. The pressure that you talked about that you wanted to see from the Rise actually being demonstrated once again by Toronto. But a foul called there, and it'll be a free kick for Vancouver.
And Coach Heiner Muller mentioned to us that she's confident that her team's identity is to play out of the back against a high press, as we know Toronto is capable of applying their very aggressive front-footed team in defense, and that's what makes them so capable and dangerous in the attacking third.
Speaking of danger in the attacking third, the alarm bells sound, but it's Croy Soto who blocks that cross opportunity, a corner kick for Vancouver on deck.
We're seeing Pachersky get further up the pitch now with the addition of Wright into the game, and she's a player that loves to go 1v1. She's very crafty and she's very good at getting the ball in the box with purpose. So I think having her up there, moving Mariah Lee into that central role, can cause quite a few problems for this Toronto back line if they connect on things.
Service from Sam Chang, met by the head of Okoronkwo. Unable to clear is Toronto. Second opportunity for Longhurst. It's turned away by Manor. Another corner kick for the Rise.
It's a great save by Manor to be alert of it. Sometimes you can get lost when there's a bunch of players in one spot. That comes out of nowhere. Longhurst is able to kick that through the crowd and connect well with it, causing Manor to have no choice but to get a hand on that, causing another corner kick to come out in their favor.
Chang once again, this one a little bit closer to the near post, able to be dispatched by Toronto. Flags up in the corner, offside. Crisis averted. You know, I would also say too that this performance by Toronto, coming off a loss with injury, they have a lot of players that they were relying on to take up some time that they do not have with them. Ivy May Perez unavailable, still awaiting assessment after returning from her international duties. Maya Jones, she's dealing with a longer term recovery. Amanda West, Leah Paris, Sonia Walk, you know, it's just a bunch of players who are not going to be available for this Toronto team. Excuse me, Leah Pace. she's out for the season. Amanda West out for the season. Sonia Walk also out for the season due to injury. So it's terrible to see. Of course, you don't want any athlete to be out for the count, but now opportunity for these AFC Toronto players.
And I think we're going to be seeing him really go into that depth with the quick turnaround of these games. That's where, you know, you call on your bench to be able to step up and not let the level drop. We haven't seen too many people come into the mix for Toronto. We've seen very little subs, I would say, in the starting 11. These players that are out on the pitch have done such a great job in keeping that level up. You see players like Barnett, who I think have played every single minute, but she is a player that brings the energy no matter if it's the 90th minute or it's the first minute. So she is just a star for this team, but I think that there are so many stars on this team, and there's some that we haven't quite seen get those minutes yet. So potentially seeing them in the next few games for Toronto.
Yellow card issued for AFC Toronto. It's first of the match, and that's going to go to Ashley Cathro. Cathro's first yellow card of this campaign. Opportunity in the 18. It's headed towards goal, but not on the face. So Manor, once again, will have a free kick. And that pressure just hasn't really been there for Vancouver, even in these opportunities. Testing the keeper, getting those balls on net, you just never know what can happen.
And we saw that from them in the last matchup as well against Montreal. They struggled to build out of the back. Yes, they struggled with the high pressure and the aggressive pressure that Montreal was putting on them. But when they were getting forward, the shots were quite soft. There wasn't anything that was really testing Karpenko. And we're seeing that again now. They're creating transitional moments, but that final shot, there's been about probably one, and that was Longhurst's, that was able to come through the crowd and cause Manor issues. But other than that, nothing has really posed a real threat to this Toronto keeper.
That ball takes an unfortunate bounce. Off your face is never something that you want to do. It's one of those things that maybe they show in film.
And you always got to play it off like it didn't hurt that much, but it did. Your eyes are watering. Yeah.
Yeah, it stings. Vancouver on the move, going forward on the front foot. Longhurst tries to play it into the 18. I would say, despite Vancouver's struggles, it's Longhurst who's been on the front foot, along with Ward, trying to make something out of nothing in instances where not much has been available. And here's yet another set piece for Vancouver. Big looping ball, and it's Manor who opts to punch it out instead of capture it. Cowart looking to back heel it, trying to get that through the defense. Cheeky, but it doesn't work. Right. And now Spencer, but Esther Okoronkwo, a nice job defensively breaking things up, and on the move are Toronto. Ashuri turns it over. Jessica Cowart will go back and forth with Weller. Direct ball over the top. Manor able to meet it. Lee didn't have a chance. Big one-on-one battle happening, and it's Emma Regan who comes out with it. She finds space on the opposite side of the pitch, and Small will go 1v1 versus Spencer. Cowart there for reinforcement. Spencer, the victor in that battle. The experience, the timing, The foul.
Last matchup, we didn't see Emma Regan get on the ball enough. This game, you're seeing her demand that ball, find the pockets, and spray that wide. Here's a look at this corner kick that Sam Chang was able to send in. Manor getting her gloves on that. I think that, you know, this Toronto side has been struggling with set pieces and keeping the ball out of the back of their net.
Woo! Dangerous, dangerous. That ball back to McCaslin gets away from her, and that's always going to give everyone on the bench a moment of holding their breath together.
I think I just held my breath.
I'm sweating. Backheeled to Longhurst, cross blocked. And it's that tenacity that you're seeing from Toronto. I think that they're all going to be very happy with, and the coaching staff going to be impressed with the backtracking, the block shots, the trying to keep it in even though it's rolling out of bounds. Barnett really showing something here as well. Chang pursued by Hunter, gets it into the 18. The one-time volley missed, a flag up, so offside regardless of the result. You see Soto communicating with her teammates. The general calm down. Relax, we got this. Turnover in the central midfield. Can Vancouver make something of it? Momentarily won by Paczerski, who you mentioned, Jess, has been getting a little bit more up offensively on the front foot. Tried to dummy that past the defender.
She's a player that's proven to be very active for them in the final third. You see her aggressiveness here to try to win this, but Cathro gets the better end of that tackle and gets it out of bounds, out of danger. But Paczerski is definitely a player they have to be aware of. You saw her earlier try to get that volley off. She didn't time her run quite well, and Toronto wrecked her offside. But she's somebody that's looking for the ball constantly and attempting to cause threats for the Toronto backline.
Paczerski starting her 7th match. She has a goal and an assist. Both came against Halifax in the 2-1 Vancouver win back on May 22nd. Ward in pursuit. It's going to be Hansen who wins the appeal to the officiating staff. Goal kick.
A player that, sorry, Ashley, didn't mean to interrupt you there, but a player that really was mentioned to us by Milanovic was Holly Ward and the threat that she poses.
Yeah.
I think that they've done a very good job at not allowing her the ability to go 1v1, no time and space to do so. You saw Hansen there fighting for that final ball, winning the goal kick. But just somebody that they have to be aware of is Ward. So the fact that they're able to capitalize on the opportunities of shutting her down, not allowing her time and space. We know she loves to go 1v1, and she can really make things happen on her own, even if her teammates are not there to support her. So I think that they've done a good job at really neutralizing that threat so far at this point in the game.
Ward closes down swiftly on Hansen. Soto forced to try and clear it briskly, but it's Spencer who sends it back in, and now Vancouver does a great job in close quarters of winning possession. Spencer defended by Small. Lee uses her body and lets the ball fall to her teammate, and now it's Ward. Waste no time. End line. Fantastic job by Nikki Small, who demonstrates her defensive capabilities. Foul. Free kick for Toronto upcoming.
In previous calls, Coach Milanovic has described her as a true pro, and I think that she shows that every tackle she goes into, every time she has the ball, her decision with it. But here's another look at her putting her body on the line, recovering, and then able to regain that ball and create something out of it, getting forward. So she's just a player that has the awareness on both sides of the ball, and she makes things happen for her team.
No one's going to say no to a Nikki Small, given the choice.
No, definitely not.
Little knock here for Kaylee Hunter, and she'll take a moment to try and regroup. Her teammates surround her, make sure that she's okay. This is a team that really thought that they dominated Vancouver in the second half of this matchup. As we get a look here, happened quickly, but hopefully Hunter avoided any direct contact to the head. We'll have the trainer come out. Those aerial 50-50 balls can be vicious. Gonna look at Jessica Cowart, who represents the Philippines internationally. She represented the team in its first World Cup appearance in 2023. They won their first ever match against New Zealand, the tournament co-host that year. Looks like Hunter is up and at him, just taking a little bit of water before she's able to re-enter the game. NSL on TSN Plus, up close and personal with the players' pitch side. AFC Toronto 2-0 here against Vancouver Rise FC. And it's Ward, unrelenting. She's happy to take the time and the space, turning the defense around. Reinforcements come in the sense of Victoria Pickett, and they were needed. Always going to be tough to win a 2v1 matchup, but a turnover in the center of the pitch. Shot from distance, and that's easily handled by Sophia Manor.
You're seeing the support of the midfield for this Toronto team coming back to help in recovery. You saw Pickett drop back there to help the back three. At times, when you are playing a back three and you have three attackers running at you, you are in trouble. So I think that the recognition from these midfielders today, we've seen Regan on quite a few accounts. We've even seen players like Okoronkwo and Hunter really getting back and putting their body on the line and breaking up transitional plays. It's great to see them come together and have that faith in their teammates, but provide the support to be able to help them get out of that hot water.
Commitment to the bit, that's what it takes, especially when you have three on the back line. As you mentioned, you can be very vulnerable in certain situations. Pickett lends support in that instance. We saw it earlier in the highlight pack. She did the same thing. Emma Regan was the first line of defense, slowing things up a little bit. Pickett swoops in, plays hero, but that's teamwork. That's a whole group effort. It is the 64th minute here at Swangard Stadium. AFC Toronto up 2-0 on Vancouver Rise FC. Both teams coming off emphatic losses, both looking for redemption. I would say that this Vancouver side is left wanting so far, but 2-0 is not insurmountable. This is a Vancouver team that scored 2 recently against Halifax as well. We're going to need to have some more connection through this midfield. The type of connection that Toronto has demonstrated so far as Spencer and Hunter get mixed up, play on, and Weller is happy to do so. She'll switch the field of play down the right flank. Vancouver continue to look for solutions, and it's Toronto who has all the answers so far. Soto will play it back to Manor. Pressure does not come from Vancouver, but Spencer flying in, getting the ball to Ward, counter-attack. Lee blocked. Small. She'll get that out in a heartbeat.
And once again, the numbers of Toronto coming back to the rescue. You see Holly Ward turn there. She's facing the net at the top of the 18. We know she's a player that's capable of going at you and creating issues. She slips that over to Mariah Lee, but numbers have just become too much. She's not able to strike it through a wall of players. It becomes impossible at that point, and Toronto does a good job at getting the ball out.
Even just that time that Lee needed to reset her feet, the little tap, tap, tap to try and put herself in an advantageous position to be able to put some power through the ball, defense just converged too quickly. Toronto goalkeeper Sophia Manor, I'll get another look at this. Ward does well to go direct at Soto. Though the tap, tap, tap.
And it's because that first touch is not out of her feet. She sort of stops it dead almost and doesn't allow herself to get that advantageous touch to get a strike off. But I don't necessarily know if in that instance it would have helped her. Again, there was too many numbers in front of her. I think that Toronto would have shut it down even if she had gotten a better first touch off. So that's credit to Toronto to be able to recognize that and get the recovery runs that are needed from their team.
Manor getting a little attention from the medical staff and a water break in the meantime, a hydration break, if you will. Generally speaking, it's safe to say that a stretch like this on the pitch means cramping. Means you're just trying to loosen some things up. I think we've all seen it and been there. But for Vancouver, time is ticking, time is running down, and it's not necessarily the fact that they're down 2-0, which doesn't help, Jess, but it's the lack of opportunity, the lack of high difficulty and dangerous scoring chances. This evening's been pretty easy for Manor thus far.
Yeah, I would say that there hasn't been many dangerous opportunities created. I think that Jasmine Spencer in the second half has done well to get forward and create some opportunities. You saw her there being able to find Ward, who's turning forward and creating something. But again, nothing that is causing Manor too many issues. There's been that one shot from Longhurst, and outside of that, the build-up hasn't really been there, and when it has been there, the final pass is lacking, or that final finish is just not able to come off of their foot correctly. So I think it's just a matter of them really finding their footing in that final third, and as well as in the build-up, to be honest with you. I don't think that they've been that great, and we've seen them do a lot better in the past.
Well, let's see if they have anything left in them. That's going to be a corner kick drawn by the hard work of who else but Lisa Paczerski. She's been involved in everything in this second half that's remotely smelled like danger. Longhurst took care of it in the first half, and now Paczerski stepping up to try and assist. Will hear the crowd rise to their feet and give support to Quinn, who now joins the pitch, joins the fold. Emily Wong will be subbed out. Quinn started last match for this Vancouver side. And let's see if they can make magic off the jump, or will it be Lee? Off a set piece. And it's Mariah Lee, who makes no mistake in those tight quarters we were talking about, redirecting on goal and cutting that 2-goal lead in half.
Well, she told us, Ashley, she didn't need much time or space, so she was able to redirect that so well. She timed her jump to win that ball and get it over the Toronto defenders, redirecting it straight into the back of the net. Here's another look at it. This is great delivery in by Sam Chang, and Mariah Lee goes straight up and redirects that like the pro that she is into the back of the net. She warned us. She did. It was some foreshadowing, excuse me, in there in that pregame interview.
Lee now has scored 3 times in the last 4 matches, and I think that's what they call a heater, a streak, danger zone.
But now this is where the question lies of who is going to keep the momentum. Will it shift? Is this where Vancouver is able to pick it up and they catch Toronto on their heels and tie that game up? Because again, they're back in it now. 2-1 is not a fun lead to have. You feel like you have to defend that lead, and when a team picks up and the momentum shifts, it becomes very difficult to create dangerous opportunities, as we've been seeing from this Toronto side early on.
And it's just going to be a situation where Toronto's going to look back on that and be frustrated with their marking, I believe. Esther Okoronkwo had 2 at the back of goal, and then I believe it was Weller who was up at the top of the 6th. 3 Toronto players surrounding her. you peel one off and maybe it's not such a free shot, free look at goal for Lee.
And that's one thing that Milanovic mentioned to us. He wanted to keep a clean sheet off set pieces.
Yep.
So that's something he's definitely going to take a closer look at and in-depth look at, because the marking was poor. To your point, Ashley, Okoronkwo didn't even challenge Lee on that, but she was faced with two different players and trying to pick what to do. So I think that it has to be better matched up in the box. There has to be more fierceness from Toronto's defense and being able to clear that out, because if you give Mariah Lee, as she said, any time and space, she will make something happen.
I love that she called her own shot to a degree. Listen, it's streaking, right? When we're talking about people who have an attacking mindset, playing a forward-facing role, trying to get on their front foot. Now, if I'm her, I'm feeling invincible. If I'm her, I'm saying, get me the ball once more.
And you saw her light up after she scored that. She was like, absolutely. Who doubted me? No one. I am going to get another one now. You just saw the confidence radiate off of her, and that is what you want from your strikers. You want them to be on a hot streak, and she's able to get her team on the board and back in this game.
Esther Okoronkwo is down right now, getting tended to. Looking like we're going to have a substitution. Esther is coming out for Jade Kovacevic, and this is the much celebrated first ever signing in the NSL in Jade, and she was not able to play, dealing with some injury, and now they're working her slowly back into full 90 fitness. It's a player that Toronto was very excited about. Obviously, they brought her in first, and now she'll get some run here midway through the second.
She's a player I've played against quite a few times, and she is very capable of being a force in that final third. She has great pace, but more than anything, she has a nose for goal when she gets in and around that 18.
As does Small in this moment, and that's a Meg goal! Disaster strikes for Vancouver, and it's jumping for joy from Nikki Small. 3-1 Toronto.
We've spoke about the quality that Nikki Small has and her craftiness, her IQ, all of it comes together in that goal. Absolutely fantastic goal from her. A bit of cheekiness there to Meg. We've been seeing Megs every game, Ashley. I think we have to start marking that down. There has to be a tally. You see the celebrations with the teammates. You love to see it. Here's another look at it. This is a great ball across by Hunter. It doesn't go to anybody, but Nikki Small with that tenacious attitude to be able to go in there and show her craftiness, get her foot on it, and Meg McCaslin.
It's a fantastic touch in close quarters by Nikki Small. Cheeky. And also poor timing for Vancouver, who just felt like they had a grasp on the momentum of this match, and for AFC Toronto to be able to respond that quickly, that speaks to them and their ability to keep on the front foot and continue to force the issue. But is this going to be the answer for Ward? Another corner kick, a set piece. This game is starting to get very interesting as both teams gear up for the final couple of moments here. Well, that was dramatic. There's still a ton of time, but trying to paint the picture.
I think the first and second balls have also been falling in Toronto's favor. They've been dominating to be able to win those, and you saw on that goal alone, Nikki Small doing well to win that second ball off the clearance.
Sam Chang on the service. That one goes in, and it meets a rash of bodies. Quinn trying to decipher the defense. Bouncing around in the 6. Foul called. Pickett hits the ground, and it's going to be a free kick here for Toronto. You hear the crowd. Boos rain down. They are certainly engaged in this one.
You love an engaged crowd. but I think they're wrong there. There was definitely a little bit of a trip up on Pickett.
Listen, one thing that supporters are going to do are ride for their team no matter what. Rose-colored glasses and all that. Lee swings that ball in across the 6, looking for Paczerski. It's Manor who gets there first. She'll play it to feet to Pickett.
Victoria Pickett has been a player that has stepped up for them as well. I would say throughout the entirety of this season, another player playing massive minutes, not coming off the pitch. And she does so well to create opportunities for them. We joked at the beginning, Ashley, calling her the transition queen. She's somebody that always capitalizes on those opportunities and draws players in to slip the ball through, to create opportunities. Going 1v1 is absolutely her strength, and she has so much pace that she's drawing fouls time and time again. I mentioned it before, that's the only way to stop her. She also has a lot of heart, and she wears it on her sleeve, so she's hard to take down.
Sam Chang once again on service from way outside the box. Manor punches it. Small there to support, and it's Hunter. Back and trying to be better than ever. It's going to be Toronto who go in transition now. Cross to Hunter. That ball had eyes. It's still available at the top of the 18, but that collision in the box, Hunter and Weller, it's going to be a free kick here for Vancouver.
That was a wonderful ball in. I think Ashuri showcasing her experience and her quality and recognizing that that early ball was the best opportunity for Hunter to be able to get on that. She saw Vancouver's back line tracking back in a straight line and Hunter equal with them, and we know that Kaylee Hunter can score. We've seen her do it, but she's also very pacey and she's got that great first touch. Awesome delivery in by Ashuri, and it also got straight to her foot. Great curve, great pace, just wasn't able to get something off of that in the end.
Ashuri already has 1 assist this season on one of the goals in the game against Montreal back in April 22nd, and that's, again, we've seen a couple of these instances where it's Vancouver looking towards McCaslin to bail them out and putting McCaslin, quite frankly, in a bit of a jam. She has no other option but to just boot it out and try and regroup.
She stepped up big for them, I would say, in certain moments. You saw her against Montreal. She sort of kept that score at 2-0. She was able to stop Ken's PK,
absolutely,
which is, you know, a huge moment. It's not easy to do that as a keeper, especially when you are down, you're in your own head, and that confidence is sort of wearing thin. So she's definitely stepped up for them in moments. I think there's a couple of moments in this game as well that we've seen her come up big for this Vancouver side. So definitely not an easy position to be in as a goalkeeper.
A referee, Selma Flores de Roche, has added another yellow card booking. Showing Emma Regan right now will confirm that it is the Toronto captain who was assessed the yellow card. Oh, Sam Chang. It's actually given to Vancouver. Apologies, that is Emma Regan who was assessed the yellow card because Vancouver got the free kick, so they are the beneficiaries of that assertiveness from Regan in the midfield. That's a hold, and it's going to be a free kick back the other way now, and that little black book is going to be full. Another yellow card here, and you know what? Well on the officials for not letting this get out of hand. If it's starting to get chippy, you can't really let anything get away because it could turn nasty. Not necessarily in a way where the players are trying to hurt each other. There's a certain level of respect on the pitch, but nonetheless, they're competitors. Vancouver trying to get back in this. Toronto not allowing them to at the moment.
Sometimes frustration gets the best of you. Definitely been there.
We're all human at the end of the day. Longhurst gets the yellow in that play. Yellow card for the Welsh international. Here are these set pieces that Toronto are trying to solve. They already have 2 goals coming in the 18, which is a goal of theirs and a focus for them. So check, that's a win. They're up 2, check. And now can they really put this one out of reach? Coward gets there first. Soto brings it down. Not enough pace for Reagan to get there, and the ball goes back to Quinn. Spencer. Quinn surveys, cross. Wright is there to dispatch it, but it's Vancouver now sending numbers. Quinn to the foot of Spencer. She lays it off. Lee trying to do work, charging towards the end line, and she wins a corner kick for her side. It's exactly how Vancouver notched their first.
You're seeing Quinn there hype up their teammates, you know, pointing out this is the moment we have to capitalize on. Set pieces are huge, as we saw. That's how they got on the board. But just in general, they carry so much power to change the course of the game.
Chang, a big looping rainbow shot manner now with what is her signature punch. The ball falls to the ground. Oh my gosh. Pulling it just left of goal, Lisa Peczerski. That was on a platter.
Peczerski's going to want that one back. You can see the frustration in her just off of that shot. Here's another look at it. Ward does well to get that pass off, a bit of a redirection to her, but Lisa Peczerski not showing the clinical edge that she needs in that. She didn't have any pressure. She had so much time to make that decision and just isn't able to hit it on frame. But also, Ashley, just to point out, the marking once again for Toronto in the 18-yard box is poor off of a set piece, and I think that's where they keep running into those issues. There's no way that Holly Ward should be able to bring that ball down. Of course, there is a foot that gets on it, but it redirects to Peczerski, who is wide open. That could have been a lot more dangerous. It would have been a 3-2 game had Peczerski found the clinical edge that she needed in that moment.
Sigh of relief for Toronto. That ball had a little bit of English on it as well, probably making the contact a little bit more difficult for Peczerski. Nonetheless, things remain the same, 3-1 for Toronto. Substitution, Ashuri, her night is over, and it's going to be Katembo who takes her place on the pitch. This is Northern Super League presented by BMO. We're at Swangard Stadium in beautiful Burnaby, BC. Always a beautiful backdrop here for NSL. AFC Toronto up 3-1 on Vancouver. The two sides faced off earlier this season. It was a 1-1 draw after a very, very last-minute goal by Jessica DiFilippo in 90+4 in stoppage time. But we ain't done yet. Goal kick in this situation, however, but Toronto would do well to try and heed these number of set pieces that Vancouver is getting in the second half.
We're also seeing Mariah Lee be very active off the front and finding gaps to get on the ball and create opportunities and spaces for her teammates. You saw there, she's coming off the front. Peczerski getting it behind on that flank. She's not able to quite get there. The ball's a bit overhit, but those are the movements you want. You want those partnerships to start forming, and I think that that's why Mariah Lee needs to be in the middle of the field. I think she shines there. I don't think you see the best of her when she's out on the flank. It takes away her ability to really drop back into that central role and get the ball turned face forward or just create that space for others to break in behind. Her movement is great when she's off the ball, so those are the times you're seeing her shine. So I'd love to see her be in more of a central role more frequently. But of course, Vancouver's dealing with some injuries and there's some switches that are needing to happen in and around the pitch.
Quinn and Pickett go toe-to-toe. Arms link up and a foul called on Victoria Pickett. Quinn looks to restart quickly. Looked like Small was kind of impeding that. Just under 5 minutes left here. Plus stoppage time. Longhurst trying to play the back heel through. Looks to get it back, but just like a lot of this build-up for Vancouver, they seem to just have a bit of a disconnect. They're not getting those breaks, those bounces, those opportunities that happen when you have a bit of more of a cohesive feel in a match.
They've definitely been lacking the cohesiveness that I think they need. We've seen it in the last few matches, I would say. They did end up finding their footing when they played the Halifax Tides later in that half. But I think, you know, in their last matchup, you saw them struggle with that against Montreal. There was no cohesiveness amongst their lines, between their lines. They were just really struggling. And I think today we're seeing glimpses of it in some sort of build-up play. But overall, there hasn't been much. I think that we've seen Spencer get on the ball a few times, finding feet. We've seen Lee coming off the front, but overall that final pass, that final cross, that final shot is just very much lacking for them.
Paczerski is limping, is walking off a little bit of contact by Hunter. Foul was called. Free kick upcoming for Vancouver. And the thing that I really love about this Toronto performance is that, to your point, they had a bit of a lull, a bit of a misstep when Vancouver was able to put a goal on the board, but they have not given an inch. They are continuing to try and be on the front foot. They are continuing to try and go at Vancouver. They're not settling back in a mid to low block and just waiting to see what happens. They're still looking for advantageous opportunities. But is this the moment for Vancouver to pull within one? Miscommunication, and Lee and Spencer end up in the same spot. Quinn taken down, no foul called. Small to Hunter.
They're also continuing to win those first and second balls, and those battles are something that we actually spoke about with Heiner Muller, and she mentioned, you know, she feels her team puts themselves structurally in the right positions to win those balls, but the physicality aspect, they're not winning those 1v1 battles enough, and I think we're seeing that on display here throughout this game. I wouldn't just say in the second half. So I think that that's something that they really need to go back to the drawing board with and sort of recollect themselves and their mentality on how they're going to get into those tackles and put their body on the line and just come out on top.
Sometimes you just need to play a little bully ball. You know, just get a little meaner. And it's a great point that you make, Jess, because that was something that she brought up on her own, unprompted, in terms of talking specifically about those aerial challenges, those 50-50 balls. So a lot to reflect on here for Vancouver, who are seemingly set to lose another match here to Toronto. Small has a question for the class. How? Foul called, and now it's Vancouver, who really does not have time to play around here as Cowart gets it to Quinn, nearly turned over. Quinn able to get the advantageous touch, and she sends it direct all the way up the pitch. Longhurst calling for it, makes a run.
I think one player too, Ashley, that we haven't really mentioned much because she's doing a lot of that dirty work and that busy work is Barnett. I think that she's a player that has been so instrumental for them in the attack and getting forward and getting the ball in the box with that great left foot of hers. But at the same time, defensively, she has put in so much work. She's put in quite a shift today. And although she hasn't done as much for them in the attack, you're seeing her in her recovery and her awareness to hold back a little further because Vancouver does have that front three against a back line of three. So having those two those wide midfielders get back is so necessary. Victoria Pickett, again, going at players.
Quinn.
She loves to do that. Quinn getting their foot in the mix there to break it up.
And that's a heavyweight matchup in the midfield. It's two players who really pride themselves in owning that space and being a force in that environment. I'd be keeping score.
Especially when Pickett is so dominant offensively and Quinn really thrives in their defensive abilities.
We have 7 minutes of added time here at Swangard Stadium. Toronto up 2. Vancouver frantically trying to bring themselves at least within 1. But it's that Toronto defense that has come in droves, and numbers have been there and support has been there. In almost every facet of this game, it's been AFC Toronto who has had the advantage. Vancouver trying in vain to get Toronto to hurry up on the ball, setting it up for them. That's not going to work. Stall tactics are running rampant when it comes to football.
Stall tactics? No, I've never heard of that.
Never, never, never. And we always take free throws exactly where it's marked. We don't take an extra 5 yards, then an extra 3, then actually the throw-in. Small battling. Sam Chang doing her best to make sure that whatever she does, it doesn't happen easily. And Vancouver able to win that back. Foul called, a little ticky-tacky on the back of Nikki Small. Longhurst needs to be careful. She's already on a yellow.
This is sort of where you start seeing that frustration come out from the Vancouver side. Longhurst getting a bit of a push there on the back. It's bound to happen when you are frustrated. You start to get in your head. You start to take it out on the other team when things are not quite going your way. We're seeing Vancouver really put their body through it now, hoping to just break up the possession that Toronto's been able to create for themselves.
Small in pursuit. Second line of defense, Hunter, Kovacevic. Katembo, fresh legs, came on and forced Cowart to recycle that opportunity back to the right-hand side of the pitch. You can see that AFC Toronto doesn't exactly have the exact same tenacity getting in the box as they did earlier. They're happy to dribble the ball down to the corner, waste some time, watch the stoppage time tick through as we're halfway through the 7 minutes of added time.
And I think at this point in the matchup, you know, you do have a 3-1 lead. The time is ticking down. As long as you're still winning those first and second balls and really dictating it in your favor, keeping it in Vancouver's half, there's really not much threat. So as in regards to them getting forward and really driving those numbers in the box, it's not so much necessary at this point, right? So why not reserve your energy and play good defensive ball, win that first and second ball, get it forward, drive it to the corner, and just let the time waste out. Especially for this Toronto team that does have yet another match on Saturday. They have 3 matches in 7 days, and Marko Milanovic and his coaching staff, after the last game where they lost, he was saying, the first thing I do is I look at myself. Quinn showing some frustration, but saying, we lost that game, but I don't look to my team. I don't look to my players. I say, for me, did we train them too hard? Did we not allow for them to have enough rest when they needed to, keeping them out to work on those set pieces? Was that a problem for us as well? And so load management, I think, is a thing here that they're looking towards. And, you know, we'll get Hunter out after a fantastic performance from Keely Hunter, and it's going to be Rollins who takes the pitch for these last few minutes. I think as a coach, you're always going to look for some sort of explanation for a very out of character performance, but sometimes it's just not your team's day. I don't think that, Coach Milanovic can really take all that blame on himself and keeping the team on.
It's admirable, though.
It is. It absolutely is. It's not something you come across often, I would say, in my experience with coaches. But anyways,
nonetheless, yeah, not to name names.
But I think that really the willingness was just sort of lacking from them, and they weren't able to keep their structure and play their game, and that in that it's hard to come back when you are down a goal very early on. You saw DB Pridham be able to get 3 that day, but she was able to bury that first one within the first 4 minutes. So I think that, coming back from that and having to bounce back is difficult on its own, but then being down 3-0 is a whole other ball game. So the fact that
Ward trying to be advantageous in those opportunities. Manor can't handle it. Slippery stuff. And finally, she'll get control.
Just to finish my thought so I don't sound crazy in the middle of my sentence, but the fact that they were able to bring this resilience and this willingness into this match says a lot about the character of these players and how much they truly do, love the game that they're playing and love the crest that they're wearing to represent AFC Toronto in a positive way.
Time ticking down, in Vancouver looking to at least end with an exclamation point. Loose ball in the box and near an own goal. Barnett, that ball hit off her chest and went in the wrong direction.
It's these little glimpses that we've been needing to see from Vancouver throughout the entirety of the match. It's late now for them. We're in that final minute of extra time. This is potentially the last play. And they're just not able to find the willingness to get on the end of that grit that's needed in the 18-yard box.
Laser from Chang. Longhurst whiffs on it. Loose in the 6. Taken down. And we are going to get what looks like a penalty kick.
From this angle, Ashley, that looked like a clear-cut penalty kick.
Well, that's the determination and grit you were asking for. All right, sell out.
You see Holly Ward we'll see the replay, but it looks like Holly Ward gets really pulled back as you see her reach and lunge for that ball, attempting to get it on frame or create anything dangerous off of that corner kick. Quinn being the one to step up once again.
She's been here before. They've been here before, and they will once again look to put this one home. Clinical by Quinn. They add to the total. Vancouver 2, Toronto 3. We are well over stoppage time. But Quinn, clinical, they are always so calm, cool, collected, composed, and that's how this one will end. Everyone is shaking hands. Quinn able to bring that lead down from 2 to 1.
Here's another look at it. Quinn just absolutely driving this home. Makes no mistake to put that in that bottom left corner. We've seen Quinn do it time and time again. They've stepped up. They have that confidence. They have the experience to do it and sort of put that weight on their shoulders. Obviously, it wasn't anything that changed the end result. They still did walk away with a loss, but 3-2 looks a lot better than 3-1.
Sometimes, and I think all the coaches will talk about it, is the score doesn't necessarily tell the story of the match. And, I think that kind of works in reverse for Vancouver here today. It's a 3-2 final. Quinn able to bring Vancouver within 1 in the late moments of this game in stoppage time. But despite the 1-goal victory, it really was a clinical performance from AFC Toronto.
Absolutely dominant performance performance from AFC Toronto, I would say. I think that Vancouver started to show glimpses of what they're capable of later in the game when they brought that resilience, but I think overall Toronto controlled the dynamic of this matchup. They were clinical in the final third. They did everything they needed to do to put this
Redemption for AFC Toronto as they get back on the winning side of things. More work and back to the drawing board for Vancouver. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.